The hood on our 72 Nova has seen better days, and it's done nothing but sit around for the last half century. But instead of just throwing it out and getting rid of it, it'd be really cool to see if we could save this thing. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna strip this thing, we're gonna find any damage, we're gonna try to repair any sort of damage that it may have, and see if we could bring this thing back to life. If we could save this thing, we can save ourselves a lot of money, and at the same time, we can keep history going. My name is Trooper Max, and I'm restoring a car that's been off the road since 1977. But I've never done this before. I've taken the time to do my research, and I'm building the car of my dreams, hoping to inspire others to do the same. So the day is finally here. Today's the day we tackle the hood on our 72 Nova. This is gonna be the most elaborate and the most difficult job we've done to date, but it's also gonna be the most rewarding if it turns out the way I'm hoping it does. So here's the plan. So what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be stripping this thing, we're gonna be restoring it, but on top of that, we are gonna be doing something really cool. So I wanna make this a 70s tribute car, and the way we're gonna do that is with this. We got a 4x3 sheet of steel here. We're gonna be making our own custom hood scoop. I have never done something like this in my life before. I have no idea if we can even do it, but I really didn't want to buy the same hood scoops everyone else has, so we're gonna be making a custom forward-facing, old school looking hood scoop, but I'm gonna try and make this thing look a little more modern, so it's gonna have a modern flair to it. But prior to doing that, we gotta look at the condition of this hood, because I predict there's gonna be some issues. So let's flip it over and take a look on the other side. So the overall condition of the hood on the other side is pretty good, even with just the rust that's on it. I don't predict any major issues. Where I do predict some issues is here, just because these are areas where water clearly got in and it actually could sit. So I don't know what type of damage it's gonna be. I predict there might be something here. This is the area that worries me the most. I'm really hoping that this won't be all messed up. We'll have to rebuild the whole thing, so fingers crossed. I really hope not. We'll see. Maybe we'll get lucky on this, but looking at this, and the condition of this, it's pretty rough. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take off the latch assembly, and I'm just gonna start sanding this thing, because until we sand this thing, we just don't know the shape of it. So let's get to work. after 8 very unenjoyable hours sanding the underbelly of this thing, what we got is one very solid and very silver hood. And I gotta say, I'm pretty ecstatic because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, I don't get this lucky, you know? I'm not used to this kind of luck, so I was very ecstatic. You know, the weekend's coming. I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'll go hang out with the boys and my wife. And the only thing is I noticed a little bit of rust here, so I thought to myself, I'll just sand a little bit here and take a look at it. Well, do you remember at the beginning of this, I said this is going to be the most complicated and difficult thing we've done yet? This is going to be the most elaborate and the most difficult job we've done today. I really wish I hadn't said that. Really wish I hadn't said that because I started sanding this and I got this. So what we got here, folks, is a little bit of bad luck. Or in my case, just another day at the office. Hole upon hole upon hole. Started sanding this and it just started completely deteriorating. All of a sudden, this little job is now a big job. I thought, well, it's maybe not that bad if it's just up here, but now it's actually lower, it's going in the curve, and then if you look over here, it's actually below the curve. So this is the most visible part. It's the front of the car. There is no way to hide this. It's a very difficult turn. I don't have the tools, the technology, nor the experience to fix something like this. I've never even fixed a hood. Unfortunately, I just have to rethink this whole thing. I think I'm gonna take the weekend to think rather than make my custom hood scoop like I was hoping, and just try to figure out what to do with this, because I don't know if I could save this thing. All right, I think it's time to make a plan. So options for the hood. First option is obviously I could replace it. So I was kind of thinking on the weekend what I could do. The easiest way would be to replace it. However, we really lose that whole let's save everything on this car mentality, and I'm so close to the end, we're so close, that I really don't want to do that. So here's what I figure. I'm going to attempt to repair this. Not really sure how we're going to pull it off because you need bevel benders and all this stuff, and I don't have any of that stuff, so it's going to be difficult. But I figure I'll just try it. At the same time, I could try to build the scoop and see what happens. Like if this thing gets scrapped, it gets scrapped. At this point, let's just freaking go for it, see what happens. I got nothing to lose but the hood itself. It's already so hard to save. So what I think I'm gonna do is just come up with a plan. So how we're gonna fix this. So here's what I'm thinking. So looking at this, so a couple things I noticed here. So we got rust holes from about here all the way to here. And from this side, we have this area here. But the problem is we also have pitting here and here. I could see areas where it's pitting, which means it's gonna keep rusting. It's gonna start and then we're gonna have more holes, and I can't just do this area and stop here. What I have to do is I really have to go higher. So what I think I would have to do, kind of like we did on the trunk, I gotta go, I would say, significantly higher, just to be safe, right? Plus it's gonna be easier to bend if I do it that way. So what I think I'll do, so I'll go all the way up here. I know that seems crazy. It seems like a lot more than we need, but I think that's the only way to do it. So we're gonna give it a shot. We're gonna do that on both sides. So I'm just gonna take my drill. I'm gonna drill out the spot weld. So there's all these little spot weld holes here, holding this together. Separate this, and we can get started. The idea is to disengage this piece of metal from the other piece of metal without destroying it. There we go. Let's check this side. It sounds crunchy in there. It's not supposed to sound crunchy. All right, time to do the deed. Now going back now, let's see what's behind door number 1. Oh no. That is pretty rusty. Ah, the curse of laminated metal, it just never gets old. Okay. Rest of it's looking pretty good though up here. Other than some surface rust, that doesn't look bad at all. That's good. That's really good. It's just this area, really. All right, let's take a look at door number 2. Okay. This side's not as bad. The good thing is we don't have to replace this piece, we just gotta clean it up. Really, it's quite solid. The problem was on this part over here, and you can actually see any areas where there's big chunks like this, that's where the holes are beginning. So, see, there's your problem. So that's what we gotta fix. It's just never good to see this. But this is also the perfect example of why we gotta fix this. Even if it looks okay from the outside, holes will develop under all this. So if we don't tackle this now, it's just gonna bubble up and ruin our work in a couple years from now. So we really have to do this right. But one thing I am happy about is when I look at it from underneath here, I can see that we are definitely high enough in terms of fixing it. Maybe I went higher than I should have, but I think it's gonna be easier to make the piece like this. All the holes are around here, all the heavy rust is down there. This is the biggest problem with the car. It's funny, I was talking to my brother and he said, wow, that's quite the design flaw they have. It's true, it is a design flaw, but at the same time, these cars, when they were created, they weren't designed to last this many years. You know, I'm sure the automakers weren't thinking that someone would be restoring these 50 years later. And at the same time, they just didn't have the technology in order to preserve these. So now we have the technology to make these last longer, even if we use the same method of putting it back together. So that's what we're gonna try to do. So first thing I gotta do, I think I'm just gonna clean this thing up, get it into the shape that I want it to, and then we'll go from there and start building this thing. You know, looking at this, I think a lot of people are thinking the same thing. Something my good friend Rick said when we were filming his episode of Between the Wheels a few years ago.
Most people would look at it and say, it's a basket case, you can't fix that.
Maybe so, but wouldn't it be sweet to prove all the critics wrong? I think so. Let's get to work. License and registration. I always wanted to do that. Hey, do you remember a while back we had that box with the easy off and the hinge? Let's go take a look at that thing. All right, let's take a look. Here she is. Give it a little sprinkle. Oh, would you look at that? Ed Bassmaster Classic. Tell me Chip Diamond's not the toughest man to ever walk these streets. A little bit of the sprinkle. Wash away the sins. Unbelievable. Really doesn't get any easier than that, does it? All we're down to is pretty much the rust. Check it out. So after about 45 seconds of sanding, we're down to just pure rust, really. Even got the bolts as well, so they're all rusty. So we still have to get rid of the rust. So how are we going to do that? We'll use the next trick. Evapo-Rust. The idea here is to do absolutely no physical work. So we're just going to put into our big vat of Evapo-Rust. Just drop the whole thing in, really. Look, I'll even keep the tip out just so you can see the difference. We'll leave that for a day or two, and we'll come back to it. soft one just to get it started. Now a little more heavy duty. I'm not gonna take this part off right now because I'm gonna use it for reference when I put this on. Then afterwards I'll cut this square off and put some new on. But this can be saved. I'm pretty happy with it. Let's do this for good measure. Let's just clean everything off before we get to any other stages. All right, so now it's time to treat this thing before we can do any closing up. So now is as good a time as any to use the OSPO. The main thing is I just want to get as much of it off here as possible in here, this area. Now, if you look inside the actual hood, it's actually really good because it's surprising how silver it's on the top. So the top is really good. It's only really, there's some surface rust on the actual cross member inside there. So the cross member is a little rusty. But the thing is, the goal for me is not to actually sand that cross member because I could try sanding the thing, but there's not really any point because there's cross members all over the place like that. So doing that, I could get this part perfect and then anywhere further I can't reach it, so there's not really a point. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use a different product for that. So once we're done with the OSPO, we're gonna go and use some internal frame coating and some rust encapsulator. So we've been using Eastwood, so we'll do this and then we'll grab that. We'll just hit it as much as we can. Because I have access right now where this is all open like this right now, it gives me the ability to actually encapsulate that. So it might actually be a good thing. Mind you, I did have holes on the bottom here I could have got in, but if we have an advantage, we're gonna use it. Right now, let's get as much of this rust off. This will turn black and make it a paintable surface. All right, that looks pretty good. I think for today we're good. I'm gonna leave this for 24 hours now, and then I'm gonna come back and then do the rest of the spraying on the inside. But for now, I'm just gonna leave it like this, and we'll get on to the next stage. So the following day, I'm just gonna splash on some lacquer thinner, and as usual. I'm not gonna be painting this right now, yet. I'm just kind of getting it ready for the next stage. For now, I'm just splashing it on anywhere we had OSPO, put some lacquer thinner, reduce the acidity. All right, so here it is. Internal frame coating and the rust encapsulator. So we're gonna be putting that stuff in. Anywhere I can't reach, I'm gonna be using this, and I'm just gonna start off now with this. Doing some areas like, some areas that are visible. You actually want rust. So I'm not removing the rust, I'm just encapsulating it. All right, time for the internal frame coating. You know, they give you this straw and it's almost useless because it just curls up. So I end up putting just a piece of wire on it, and it gives you the ability to go as far as you want. That just makes a lot more sense to me, but just a curled up wire doesn't have much value to it. So put that on. I'm just gonna basically hit all the areas that I can't really reach with the gun, so make sure it's working. There we go. It is really messy stuff. And that just gives me extra access. Like, there's no way I can get a can in there, you know, but like this, I can hit everything I want. As much as I try not to make a big mess over here, it's pretty much hard, impossible not to hit it. So put some tape on, and I'm just gonna finish it off. Might as well flip her over and keep going on the other side. So what's really nice is this whole channel, which was previously inaccessible for me, is now accessible from here. So all I gotta do is slide my wire all the way down here, go as far as I can, and I can shoot it. Won't be perfect, but it'll be something. Excellent. And I can see in there that, yeah, it coated it pretty darn well, actually. Cool. Can really hit a lot more angles now, too. Here. Wow, that is amazing. if you look in there, you could see it's actually coated it really nicely. So at first I was kind of like, oh man, it sucks that I had to open this up. But now I'm looking in there and I'm like, well, I wouldn't have had this access. Now I know that this part where the most water was in, the most damage is protected. That's awesome. Right on. All right, so here's the cool part. So when this was in, I had it about here, which means it goes all the way to about here. So if I want to finish this off, now it's just about coming in here with this, and I can hit the rest of it about there. There's no way I could have reached all the way down there. Even like this, it's really hard to move it. And then I flip it around and do this side. Really, this is all that could be done for this area. This is as much as we can do. I can see it coming out there. That means it's shooting around. That's good. So yeah, that's pretty good. It's not going to be perfect, but that's pretty much the only thing we can do for that area. At least we have some sort of protection. Now when we do the scoop, I am going to be opening up some areas here, so there are going to be some other areas open, but for now, this is good. I'm really happy with this. We're just going to keep going with this. We're going to do the whole inside of the support here, then we'll move on to more rust encapsulator. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm pretty confident that we filled the voids actually quite well. The only thing we haven't filled is underneath this thing, which we're not going to be able to do. There's no way we could do it. So the only thing remaining really is the outer edges and the inside edges in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this stuff and I'm just going to spray between the edges, inside and out. I'm going to try to clean it up as nice as I can, and this is just going to add that extra little bit of protection, because once this is on and this is cured, it can be painted with epoxy. So any sort of rust that we can't access, we're not putting epoxy on, we're putting this stuff on first. So the next order of business is to do our Weld-Through Primer. This is what's going to prevent any sort of rusting between the layers. Before we put any metal on here, they didn't have anything like this back in the day. So you put this Weld-Through Primer in between the layers and it should stop the rusting. Now mind you, the OSPO is also here. So in the areas where we have our spot welds, I have my holes. You're going to find it difficult to weld over here. So when we put our piece of metal on and we do our plug weld from the other side, it's not going to do as well. So what we got to do is we got to take an air belt sander or some type of sander and just sand off the OSPO. Wax and grease remover. Let's wipe it down. All right, so now we could spray it down with our Weld-Through. I'm actually even going to push open the edges there. Even though we didn't sand it there, I can throw in some Weld-Through Primer behind there, because I could actually see that edge. That's good. Same thing on this side. Okay, now we're just going to shoot. Let that dry, do another coat, and start making our pieces. Alrighty, let's peel away the shell. Well, that's looking pretty, ain't it? Me likey, but it's not just about being pretty, it's about being protected. That's the main thing. So this whole area here is now protected. So now I could start taking my metal and start making these pieces. Gonna leave this here for reference for now. We'll cut this off and do it later, but I'm not gonna do that until this piece is in. If we can make it, that is. So here is our piece of metal that we're gonna use for our scoop. Obviously, I'm not making it that big, that would be just crazy. So I'm going to use this metal to make my piece. Alrighty, I think we're going to try it. I have no idea what I'm going to do here, so I think I'm just going to start this and see what I can do. Oh, we got some sort of tornado or something going on out there. Let's see if we can make this thing happen. How to do this? The calm before the storm, isn't that what they say? Let's see if we can get this thing going here. Okay. Oh. I decided to bring the car in based on things that have happened in the past. Hood might not be my biggest problem here. Just a way to get more out of our vise. JR Jim Ross would say business is about to pick up. Okay. We literally missed that by a minute. My wife would have been crushed. Happy with that. I think we're gonna go for it. It's really coming down now. So it's a new day, yes it is. We survived yet another apocalypse, so that's a good thing. You know, I find it so funny that we can go from something like 30 degrees Celsius, 80 plus Fahrenheit, to 5 degrees and only 40 Fahrenheit in only one day. I'm wearing my winter jacket and it's May. That's hilarious to me. That is the Great White North, folks. Never a dull day. But anyways, now that we survived all that, back to work. So I got both my pieces ready. The first piece took me 5 hours. The second piece took me about 3 hours. Could have been even faster once I had figured things out, but let me tell you how I kind of got here now that I figured everything out. So the way I kind of figured it out was first taking the piece and bending in half. Now my vise is not wide enough, so I used 2 pieces of square tubing and some magnets to hold it all together while I bent it to 90 degrees. When we finally got our shape, then I end up taking it and tracing it where I would want my bend to be based on the other piece. So I'm using my other piece as a template. And then it was just a matter of flipping it over and then just hammering it just to start the edge, because by hitting it this way I was able to start where it was going to bend. Now once the bend is started, we have to kind of change up strategies because you can't keep bending it, otherwise you'll unbend your 90 degrees. So I used more square tubing and just some clamps and ended up folding it over as much as I could and just kept going over and over until I was happy with it. And then it's just a matter of using different types of techniques with the vise in order to get as close as possible. At the same time, what really sped up the process was doing some relief cuts. So these cuts over here, these are used to make this bend. So even though it was pretty straight, having the bend, there was a very slight natural bend, and I just found it looked better, so I cut these, and by doing that I was able to shape it the way I want it. And then it's just a matter of taking the template itself, putting it on top and making sure you're happy with it, and just keep going over and over and adjusting things until they're perfect. Once things are good, it's just a matter of taking the template, putting it on top, clamping it together, tracing it out, and then taking the time to cut it out, and then we're ready to rock and roll. And at that point, we just started putting it on, test fitting it, and just going over and over until we're happy with it, doing any sort of adjustments using magnets and clamps to hold it all together. But now it's all ready to go. The two pieces are ready. They're both sprayed. They have their Weld-Through Primer on the other side, just for a little bit of extra protection. And now we're ready to put these things on. So I'm just gonna get everything in with clamps, and when I'm happy with it, we'll start tacking it all together. I'm just gonna make sure I get this side and this side good, so really that's the goal. Once those are in, then the rest will fall into place nicely, but I really just want that pretty much perfect. Alright, so I got a magnet here holding that part. Just gonna tack it together now that this edge is good. After a long and grueling journey, we can honestly say that this hood has been saved. It's all finished and ready to go. You know, I'm pretty amazed that we were able to save this thing. I never thought in a million years that we'd be able to do this, considering the tools we have and the experience and whatnot, but it just goes to show you want to do something hard enough, you can do it. So this is awesome. It's gonna need a lot of body work, I know that. Every part of this car is gonna need a lot of body work, but look at that, this is awesome. The fact that it has this means that all we gotta do is we gotta strip this, prime it, and this hood is ready to go. Oh, and we gotta build our hood scoop. Now, speaking of which, with all this stuff here, I want you guys to make a prediction. What do you think? Do you think this is gonna be a pain in the butt? Is there gonna be a surprise here for me? Or are we gonna be home free? You let me know. So all that's left to do is to get back to work and keep working on this. But you know what? We're gonna save that for the next episode because we ended up doing so much more than we expected. At least we know we saved the hood. Next time we're gonna be stripping this thing. We're gonna be building our custom hood scoop. We're still gonna be doing some preserving because we still have to shoot some stuff in here. We're gonna see if we can build our own custom hood scoop first time ever. I have no idea. Honestly, after doing all this, I'm pretty hesitant because it was very difficult just doing something like this. I don't even know what the scoop would look like. Also, at the same time, let me know what kind of scoop you'd put on this. Would you do it forward facing, a rear facing, cowl induction? You let me know. And as far as that goes, there's only one thing left to do. We still got our mystery bucket here to see the condition of our latch assembly. Check that out. It's only been in there for 5 hours, 6 hours, and look at that, it's already ready to go. Just a little bit of rust left. Look at that, took no work at all. We'll see you guys in the next episode.